Hello, Gary, and anybody else this might be useful to. Um, I'm going to describe a use for the tailing loop, which was not it's not one of these presentation casts that was born on a grass field. This actually came about on the water because I had a problem that needed solving. Namely, I was dealing with a very heavy fly in very fast water running out of a river mouth, fishing for kahawai, which were swimming up this, which were hanging out in this fast water. But I needed to get the depth, and in order to get the depth, I needed to collapse the leader. And the easiest way I found to get slack there, the most delicate way of doing it, and the way with which I had the most control, was to use a tailing loop. To collapse at the end of the line so that the leader would sink, so that the leader would land very close to the fly line. So the first thing we need to understand um, is tailing loops sometimes cause wind knots, and we want to avoid that, and that's for a number of reasons. But it's usually because, or it's usually because the fly leg and the rod leg intersect each other. So if I'm casting off the right shoulder and my back cast is off shoulder and my forward cast is straight to you, that fly leg is going to come in and it's going to collide with the rod leg, potentially putting a knot in my line. So what we need to do is I need to send it slightly in. I can either do one of two things. I can either send the back cast over to this side, so that when I'm tilted a little bit, so when that tailing loop comes through, it clears, it misses the rod leg. Or the easier way is I can put the back cast exactly aligned to the target, and I can just steer my front cast a little bit away over to the left. So that's the easiest way to do it. So my back target aligns to my front target, and where I move the rod tip to, coming over to the left, is where I want to put the apex. I don't want the fly to land on top of the line. I want the fly to land a little bit to the side. Now, if I make a big change here, what I actually do is end up getting a longer layout with the leader, to the extent where it can actually become a curve cast with slack. So you can actually control that. You can have this curve cast, but you can bring it closer and closer together with this tail. And so ideally, we want to probably put the fly about one foot away from the line and collapse all the leader down there. So the easiest way to get this, for me anyway, the way I found the easiest way to get this tailing loop is to just shock the rod at the end of the stroke. And it's a way that we probably learnt to throw tails as instructors before they changed the exam and they said, no, this is not what students normally do, which is to put this little spike of force in, but aim upwards a little bit. So that way it's always going to tell because we're pushing our rod tip up. And if we do that at the end of the stroke, intentionally, we can throw this tailing loop intentionally. And if we come away from the straight line 180 degrees and we come across, it's not going to tangle. Obviously, we cannot cast in a perfectly vertical line, as we were talking about last week, because if you do that, the tailing loop's just going to come through and hit the rod. So we must angle it over, and I find the easiest is probably about maybe 30 degrees over. So I haven't practiced it for a long time, and I think I haven't really trained this one, because I'm just going to do a few of them. It's probably not going to have the consistency that it would if I was training it. But I know that if I trained it, I would get very consistent at doing this. And I'm sure after a few minutes it will come in anyway. So I'm just going to start off with a fairly short line to begin with. That was perfect. So I've just probably about a 30 feet of fly line. That wasn't a good one. There we go. That's the sort of collapse cast that we're wanting. As you can see there's a nice heap of slack. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to go and grab the other line. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much that helped. I don't know if you got to see those, but anyway, it seems to work. It certainly got me out of jail once or twice. It's a really good way of collapsing very heavy flies.